Ex-soldier shared his meal with a beggar, not knowing he was a prince, testing the kindness of his people. The words had haunted Marcus since that fateful evening. How an ex-soldier had shared his meager meal with a stranger in rags, unaware of the royal eyes studying his generosity. Now, as winter bit through his worn jacket, Marcus wondered if any act of kindness truly went unnoticed in a world that had forgotten him. His fingers, calloused and trembling slightly, fumbled with the doorknob of his modest apartment. 5 years after leaving the battlefield, the shadows still followed him home. The nightmares, the memories, the sudden panics when car doors slammed too loudly. Tonight, like most nights, his tiny living space felt like another kind of prison. Inside, Marcus placed his worn duffel bag on the kitchen counter. His shift at the loading dock had been particularly brutal today. 12 hours of lifting, hauling, straining to prove he was still worth something in a society that had little use for broken soldiers. His shoulder ached where the shrapnel had torn through muscle and bone 3 years ago. The doctors had done what they could, but some wounds never fully heal. The refrigerator hummed emptily when he opened it, revealing a half-empty carton of milk, some wilting vegetables, and leftovers from 2 nights before. He sighed, pulling out ingredients for a simple meal, just enough to quiet the gnawing in his stomach. The military pension barely covered rent, and pride prevented him from seeking additional help. He'd served his country. He wouldn't beg from it now. As he boiled water for pasta, Marcus glanced at the photo frame on his nightstand, the only decoration in the Stark apartment. It showed 5 soldiers, arms around each other's shoulders, desert sun blazing behind them. 3 were now dead. 1 was Marcus. The 5th hadn't spoken to him since the incident. Outside, the first snowfall of winter had begun, delicate flakes swirling past his window like memories that refused to settle. Marcus watched them dance as he stirred his simple sauce. There was something peaceful about the snow, how it covered everything, made the world clean again, if only temporarily. His dinner was almost ready when a sharp knock rattled his door. Marcus tensed instinctively, his right hand reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Old habits. He approached cautiously, peering through the peephole at a hunched figure in the hallway. "Who is it?" he called, voice rougher than intended. "Sorry to disturb you," came a soft reply. "I'm looking for Mr. Henderson in 3B. I must have the wrong apartment." Marcus hesitated. The hallway lights were flickering again. The landlord's perpetual promise to fix them remained unfulfilled. He couldn't see the stranger clearly, just a thin man in what appeared to be insufficient clothing for the bitter evening. Against his better judgment, Marcus opened the door, chain still latched. The man outside was younger than his voice had suggested, perhaps early 30s, with sharp features softened by gentle eyes. His clothes were clean but threadbare, his thin jacket clearly inadequate against the winter chill. He wasn't dirty or disheveled like most homeless people Marcus encountered downtown, but there was a weariness about him that spoke of hardship. "Henderson moved out last month," Marcus said. "New tenant hasn't moved in yet." The stranger's shoulders slumped. "I see. Thank you anyway." As he turned to leave, a violent shiver racked his frame. Marcus felt something shift inside him, a door opening that had been locked for years. Maybe it was the snow. Maybe it was the emptiness of his apartment. Maybe it was the memory of how it felt to be cold and alone in places where no one knew your name. Wait," Marcus heard himself say. "It's freezing out. I just made dinner. Nothing fancy, but there's enough for 2. The stranger hesitated, surprise evident in his raised eyebrows. "I couldn't impose." "You're not imposing if I'm inviting you," Marcus said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. He unlatched the chain and opened the door fully. "Besides, it's just pasta. And it's Christmas Eve." The realization hit Marcus suddenly. He'd stopped tracking holidays years ago, but the date explained the cheerful decorations he'd noticed in the lobby earlier. Christmas Eve, and he was completely alone. The stranger regarded him with an unreadable expression before nodding. "Thank you. That's very kind. I'm Marcus," he said, stepping aside to let the man enter. "Adam," the stranger replied, offering a hand that Marcus shook briefly. Adam's grip was firmer than expected, his palm surprisingly smooth for someone who appeared down on his luck. Inside, Marcus awkwardly cleared some papers from his small table. He wasn't used to visitors. In fact, he couldn't remember the last time another person had been in his apartment. The realization made his chest tighten. "Sorry about the mess," he mumbled, dividing the pasta between 2 mismatched plates. "I don't usually have company." Adam settled into a chair, his movements oddly graceful. "No apology needed. I appreciate the hospitality." They ate in silence for a few minutes. Marcus couldn't help noticing how Adam held his fork, with a precision that seemed at odds with his apparent circumstances. There was something unusual about this man, though Marcus couldn't place what exactly. "You were in the military?" Adam asked eventually, nodding toward the folded flag on the bookshelf. Marcus's jaw tightened automatically. "Army, 8 years, 2 tours. Thank you for your service," Adam said. And unlike when most people said it, that empty platitude that had lost all meaning, his voice carried genuine respect. Marcus nodded awkwardly, unused to conversation. "What about you, Mr. Norm? Where are you headed tonight?" Adam's eyes dropped to his plate. "I'm between situations at the moment. I've been traveling, observing." "Observing what?" "At people?" Adam smiled slightly. "How they live, how they treat each other when they think no one important is watching." Something about the statement prickled at Marcus's awareness, but he let it pass. Everyone had their stories, their secrets. He'd learned long ago not to pry. As they ate, the silence gradually became less uncomfortable. Marcus found himself telling Adam about his job at the loading dock, complaining about his supervisor's impossible expectations. Adam listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions that suggested he was genuinely interested. When was the last time someone had really listened to him? Marcus couldn't remember. After dinner, as Marcus cleared the plates, Adam moved to the window, watching the snow with an almost childlike fascination. "It's coming down harder," Marcus commented, joining him at the window. The street below was already blanketed in white, the few cars moving carefully through the accumulation. Adam nodded. "Beautiful, though." Marcus studied his profile, curiosity finally getting the better of him. "Where are you planning to sleep tonight?" Adam turned, his expression neutral. "I'll find somewhere." "In this?" Marcus gestured to the thickening snowfall. The weather report had predicted 6 inches by morning. "You'll freeze." "I've managed in worse." Marcus felt an uncomfortable twisting in his gut. He barely knew this man, yet the thought of sending him back into the storm felt wrong. The couch was old but comfortable enough. He'd slept on much worse. "Look," Marcus said, rubbing the back of his neck, "the couch is yours if you want it. Just for tonight, until the storm passes." Adam's eyebrows rose slightly. "You'd offer your home to a stranger?" "You're not exactly a stranger anymore. We've had dinner," Marcus said with a small, rusty laugh. "Besides, I've got decent instincts about people." "Had to, where I served." Adam studied him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Why would you help me?" The question caught Marcus off guard. "Because it's cold outside and I have a couch," he said simply. "Do I need another reason?" A smile touched Adam's lips. "No. No, you don't." He extended his hand. "Thank you, Marcus. I accept your offer." That night, as Marcus lay in bed listening to the soft breathing of his unexpected guest, he realized it was the first Christmas Eve in years that he hadn't spent completely alone. The thought should have been comforting, but instead it cracked something open inside him. A loneliness he'd been denying for too long. He turned his face to the wall, surprised by the warm wetness on his cheeks. In the morning, Marcus woke to the smell of coffee. For a disorienting moment, he couldn't place it. His apartment never smelled like freshly brewed coffee when he woke up. Then he remembered his guest. Adam stood in the kitchen, 2 mugs in hand. "Hope you don't mind," he said, nodding toward the coffee maker. "Found some beans in the back of your cabinet." Marcus sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "I didn't even know I had coffee." "It was behind the tea," Adam said, offering a steaming mug. "Merry Christmas." Marcus accepted the cup, the warmth seeping into his palms. "Merry Christmas," he echoed, the words feeling foreign on his tongue. Outside, the world was transformed. Snow covered everything, pristine and undisturbed in the early morning light. The usual city noise was muffled, creating an unusual sense of peace. "Roads will be bad," Marcus commented, taking a cautious sip. The coffee was surprisingly good. "Where did you learn to make coffee like this?" Adam shrugged. "I've picked up a few skills here and there." As they drank their coffee, Marcus found himself telling Adam about his last Christmas with his unit. How they decorated a scraggly bush with dog tags and empty shell casings. How Thompson had somehow procured a turkey that they'd cooked over an improvised spit. He hadn't thought about that day in years. "What about your family?" Adam asked. "Do you see them for the holidays?" Marcus's expression closed. "My parents passed before I enlisted. No siblings." "I'm sorry." "It's fine." Ancient history. Marcus stood abruptly, placing his mug in the sink. "Are you hungry?" "I might have some eggs." Adam seemed to sense the shift in mood and didn't press further. "Eggs would be great. Let me help." They moved around the small kitchen together, falling into an easy rhythm that surprised Marcus. Adam was unexpectedly competent, finding things in cabinets that Marcus had forgotten he owned. By the time they sat down to eat, Marcus had a proper breakfast for the first time in months. Eggs, toast, and even some frozen hash browns Adam had discovered in the back of the freezer. "So what's your plan for today?" Marcus asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Adam considered the question. "I should probably continue my journey. I've been away longer than intended. In this weather, the buses won't be running regularly, and the roads are still bad." Adam glanced out the window, his expression thoughtful. "Perhaps you're right. Another day wouldn't hurt." Marcus told himself the relief he felt was merely concern about the weather conditions. Nothing more. They spent Christmas Day in a way Marcus would never have anticipated. Adam discovered an old chess set in Marcus's closet, a gift from a former commanding officer that had never been used. As the snow continued to fall outside, Adam taught Marcus the basics of the game. They played for hours, conversation flowing more easily than Marcus could remember in years. Adam spoke little about himself, deflecting personal questions with general comments about travels and observations. Yet he listened to Marcus's stories with such genuine interest that Marcus found himself sharing more than he had with anyone since leaving the service. As darkness fell, they heated leftovers and watched an old Christmas movie on Marcus's small television. The apartment felt different somehow, warmer despite the persistent draft from the windows. Marcus caught himself smiling more than once at Adam's surprisingly insightful commentary on the predictable holiday film. When they finally prepared for sleep, Marcus found himself reluctant to end the day. At the door to his bedroom, he paused. "Thanks," he said awkwardly. Adam tilted his head. "For what?" "For," Marcus gestured vaguely. "Making Christmas not terrible, I guess." Adam's smile was genuine. "Thank you for the same. Good night, Marcus." The next morning, the snow had stopped, though the city remained blanketed in white. The news reported that main roads were being cleared, but recommended staying home if possible. Marcus was secretly glad for the excuse to extend Adam's stay. They fell into an easy routine over the next 3 days. During the day, they played chess, talked, or simply existed comfortably in the same space. Adam reading one of Marcus's few books while Marcus tinkered with a broken radio he'd been meaning to fix. In the evenings, they cooked together, making the most of Marcus's limited supplies. Adam proved to be surprisingly resourceful, creating tasty meals from ingredients Marcus would have considered insufficient. On the 4th day, as they were washing dishes side by side, Adam said quietly, "The roads are clear now." Marcus handed him a plate to dry. "Yeah, I saw that on the news. I should be moving on." Marcus kept his eyes on the soapy water. "I guess so." Neither of them said anything more until the dishes were done and the kitchen was clean. Then Adam turned to Marcus, his expression serious. "Marcus, I haven't been entirely truthful with you." Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He'd known there was something unusual about Adam from the beginning. "What do you mean?" Adam gestured to the living room. "Perhaps we should sit down." The warmth of the past few days evaporated as Marcus followed Adam to the couch, his mind racing through possibilities. Was Adam running from the law? Was he involved in something dangerous? "I'm not who you think I am," Adam began, his posture suddenly straighter, his accent slightly crisper. "And who are you exactly?" Marcus asked, tensing. Adam met his gaze steadily. "My full name is Adam Christoph Edward Wilhelm, and I am the Crown Prince of Arendelle." Marcus stared at him, waiting for the punchline. When none came, he let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Right, and I'm the Queen of England." "I can prove it," Adam said calmly, reaching into his pocket and withdrawing a signet ring that Marcus hadn't seen before. The detailed crest caught the light, gold and sapphire gleaming. "This has been passed down through my family for generations." Marcus examined the ring, doubt warring with growing realization. He'd seen that crest before, on currency during a peacekeeping mission in Europe years ago. "If you're a prince," Marcus said slowly, "what the hell are you doing in my apartment eating leftover pasta?" Adam's expression softened. "For the past 3 months, I've been traveling through the country incognito, living among ordinary citizens. It's an old tradition in our royal family to understand the true nature of our people, their challenges, their kindness. My father did it, as did his father before him. So I was—" "What? An experiment?" Marcus stood abruptly, anger flaring. "Some case study in how the common folk live." "No," Adam said quickly, rising as well. "That's not—" "Did you get what you needed?" Marcus continued, his voice rising. "Good story to tell when you're back in your palace. The sad ex-soldier in his pathetic apartment. Marcus, please, I think you should go. Marcus turned away, shame burning through him. All those things he'd shared, the vulnerabilities he'd exposed, all for some royal social experiment. It wasn't like that, Adam said quietly. These days with you have been the most genuine experience of my journey. Marcus laughed bitterly. Right. Very touching. The door's that way, Your Highness. Adam didn't move. The night we met wasn't planned. I was genuinely lost looking for someone else. But when you invited me in, shared your meal despite having so little yourself, he paused. That kind of genuine generosity is rare, Marcus. More rare than you might imagine. Glad I could provide such an inspirational moment, Marcus said sarcastically, though something in Adam's tone gave him pause. I'm not explaining this well. Adam ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Marcus had seen several times over the past days. It was oddly humanizing for a prince. My experience here with you wasn't just about observation. It changed me. Marcus turned back, studying Adam's face for any sign of deception. Changed you how? I've met many people during my journey, some kind, some not. But no one like you. Adam's eyes held Marcus's steadily. You've lost so much, yet you still offered shelter to a stranger. You shared what little you had without hesitation. Anyone would have done the same, Marcus muttered, uncomfortable with the praise. No, Adam said firmly. They wouldn't. I know because I've been that stranger many times these past months. Most doors remain closed. Marcus absorbed this, his anger gradually giving way to confusion. So what happens now? You go back to your castle and I just... What? Go back to my life. Adam smiled slightly. Actually, I had something else in mind. The following week was a whirlwind that Marcus could scarcely comprehend. Adam, or Prince Adam, as Marcus still couldn't quite believe, had made a phone call that first night, speaking in a language Marcus didn't understand. By morning, a sleek black car had arrived, driven by a discreet man in a suit who addressed Adam with formal deference. I'd like you to come with me, Adam had said to Marcus, to Arendelle, as my guest. Marcus had initially refused, the invitation too surreal to accept. But Adam was surprisingly persistent. Consider it a favor to me, he'd said. I need an honest perspective on my country from someone who won't simply tell me what I want to hear. In the end, curiosity had won out over caution. Marcus had requested a leave of absence from his job, granted with surprising ease after a call from Adam's people, and found himself on a private jet bound for a country he'd barely heard of. Arendelle was smaller than Marcus had imagined, but breathtakingly beautiful. Mountains rising behind a capital city that blended medieval architecture with modern efficiency. Adam had arranged for Marcus to stay in a guest apartment within the palace grounds, comfortable but not ostentatious, with windows overlooking gardens dusted with winter snow. To Marcus's surprise, Adam didn't simply disappear into his royal duties. Instead, he spent considerable time with Marcus, showing him the city, introducing him to people from all walks of life, from government ministers to factory workers. At first, Marcus felt hopelessly out of place, but Adam had a gift for putting people at ease, creating natural conversations where Marcus's perspective was genuinely valued. They're building a new veterans center, Adam told him one evening, spreading architectural plans across a table. I'd like your thoughts on the design, the services offered. Why my thoughts? Marcus asked, still uncomfortable with the deference everyone showed him as the prince's American friend. Because you understand what veterans need in ways our planners don't, Adam replied simply. Your experience matters, Marcus. Gradually, Marcus found himself drawn into more discussions, more projects. Adam introduced him to other veterans, men and women who had served in Arendelle's military and faced many of the same challenges Marcus had encountered at home. With them, Marcus found an easy camaraderie that transcended language and cultural differences. 3 weeks into his visit, Adam invited Marcus to a small dinner in his private quarters. The space was surprisingly modest for a prince, comfortable and elegant, but lacking the ostentation Marcus had expected. How are you finding Arendelle? Adam asked as they ate a simple meal prepared by the palace chef. It's beautiful, Marcus replied honestly. The people have been kind, but, Adam prompted, reading Marcus's hesitation. Marcus set down his fork, choosing his words carefully. I'm grateful for everything, Adam, but I still don't understand why I'm here. Why me? Adam was quiet for a moment, swirling wine in his glass. Do you remember asking me, that first night, why I was observing people? Marcus nodded. I told you I wanted to see how people treat each other when they think no one important is watching. Adam set his glass down. What I didn't tell you is why that matters to me. He rose and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights below. In 6 months, I'll be crowned king. My father is stepping down due to health concerns. He turned back to Marcus. I'll be responsible for the welfare of every person in this country. How can I serve them if I don't understand their true lives, their real struggles? So your journey was preparation for becoming king? Marcus said, understanding dawning. Yes, but I discovered something unexpected. Adam returned to the table, his expression earnest. Our systems are failing many people, especially those who have served like you. We have beautiful programs on paper, but in reality, he shook his head. There are too many falling through the cracks. Marcus thought of his own struggles after leaving the military. The bureaucracy, the endless forms, the feeling of being simultaneously honored in speeches and forgotten in practice. And that's why you brought me here? To help fix your veterans programs? Adam's smile was warm. Partly, but also because I valued our friendship. Because those days in your apartment were the first time in years I felt like a person rather than a position. He hesitated. And because I thought perhaps you might find purpose here as well. The next morning, Adam took Marcus to a building on the edge of the palace grounds, a stately old structure being renovated inside. This will be the new Royal Veterans Affairs Office. Adam explained as they walked through partially completed rooms, independent from the military and the defense ministry, reporting directly to the crown. Marcus nodded, impressed by the thoughtful layout, the accessibility features being incorporated. It needs a director. Adam continued casually. Someone who understands veterans' needs firsthand. Someone who won't be intimidated by bureaucracy or protocol. Marcus stopped walking. Adam, before you refuse, Adam said quickly, consider this. You have unique perspectives. You've experienced both the best and worst of how a nation treats its veterans. You have no political entanglements here, no preconceptions. I don't speak the language, Marcus protested. I don't know your systems, your culture, all things that can be learned. Adam faced him directly. What can't be taught is genuine compassion combined with the lived experience you bring. Marcus shook his head, overwhelmed. This is crazy. I was a sergeant, not an administrator. 3 weeks ago, I was unloading trucks. And I was a beggar on your doorstep. Adam countered with a small smile. Yet here we are. Outside, snow was beginning to fall again, soft flakes drifting past the tall windows. Marcus watched them, reminded of that night when he'd opened his door to a stranger. Why did you really knock on my door that night? He asked suddenly. You said you were looking for someone else, but was that true? Adam's expression grew thoughtful. I was looking for Mr. Henderson, genuinely. He was a contact recommended by one of my guides. But when he wasn't there, he paused. I saw something in your eyes when you opened that door. A kindness behind the caution. I took a chance. We both did, Marcus said quietly. In the silence that followed, Marcus felt something shift inside him. The same sensation he'd experienced when inviting Adam in from the cold. A door opening to possibility. I'm not qualified for this, Marcus said finally. Perhaps not on paper, Adam acknowledged. But I believe you are exactly what we need. What I need as I take the throne. A token American? A friend who will tell me the truth. Adam corrected. Someone who sees people, not positions. Someone who understands that the true measure of a society is how it treats those who have sacrificed for it. Marcus looked around the half-finished space, imagining what it could become. For the first time in years, he felt a stirring of purpose, a sense that his experiences, even the painful ones, might serve some greater good. I'd need help, he said slowly. A team who knows the language, the systems. Adam's face brightened. Of course. The best people, and I'd want to start with actual veterans' input. No plans without consulting the people who'll use the services? Absolutely. Marcus took a deep breath. I'd want to try it first. A trial period. If it doesn't work out, you can return home with my gratitude and friendship intact, Adam promised. And a lifetime of free coffee. That made Marcus laugh, a real laugh, open and genuine. You drive a hard bargain, Your Highness. 5 years later, Marcus stood at the window of his office, watching snow fall on the gardens of the Royal Veterans Center. What had begun in that half-finished building had grown into something he could never have imagined. A comprehensive system supporting veterans throughout Arendelle, with satellite offices in every major city. On his desk sat a framed photograph. Marcus and King Adam at the center's official opening, both smiling broadly. Beside it was a simple pasta bowl, a gift from Adam on the first anniversary of their meeting, a reminder of where their journey had begun. A knock at the door pulled Marcus from his thoughts. They're ready for you, Director, his assistant said. Marcus nodded, gathering his notes for the presentation to the international delegation. Representatives from 12 countries coming to learn about Arundel's Revolutionary Veterans Program. As he walked through the center, Marcus greeted staff and veterans by name. Many were people he'd helped personally, now employed here or volunteering. The halls were filled with warmth and purpose, so different from the cold institutions he'd encountered after his own service. In the conference room, King Adam was already present, greeting delegates with his characteristic charm. He caught Marcus's eye and smiled, excusing himself to approach. "Nervous?" Adam asked quietly. "A little," Marcus admitted. "Never thought I'd be presenting to NATO officials." "Just tell them the truth," Adam said, briefly clasping Marcus's shoulder. "How a simple meal shared between strangers changed 2 lives, then a nation." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of the journey that had brought him here, from a lonely apartment to this moment. "By the way," Adam added with a mischievous smile, "I invited someone special for dinner tonight, the new cultural attaché from your embassy. I think you'll like her." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Are you playing matchmaker now, Your Majesty?" "Just creating opportunities," Adam replied innocently. "Isn't that what friends do?" Before Marcus could respond, they were called to begin. As he took his place at the podium, Marcus looked out at the assembled dignitaries, then at King Adam, his unlikely friend. "Thank you for coming," Marcus began. "Our story begins with a simple act of kindness on a snowy night, when an ex-soldier shared his meal with a beggar, not knowing he was a prince testing the kindness of his people. He paused, looking at the faces watching him intently. But the truth is, we're all testing each other's kindness every day, and sometimes when we least expect it, opening our door to a stranger can open the door to a whole new life." Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the kingdom in a blanket of white, transforming everything it touched, just as a single act of kindness had transformed Marcus's world forever.